Hey, what's up, guys? So, today I'm going to be talking about the second diary for my Stormcall Herald Vol Stormcall guy, ball lightning thing. The build is still unfinished. I'm sorry. I just don't have the time to finish it because I have to leave my house and I will be back in a couple days, and by that time I don't think I'm gonna have enough time to actually properly finish the build, but a lot of people have been asking questions, so I just wanted to talk about where I got in the progression of the build, what are some of my thoughts, and hopefully I won't forget to say anything because the first video I clicked stream instead of record which cut it in like half. And then the second video, I actually ended up disconnecting in the map, so that was also a failure. But yeah, I'll try and cover everything. And yeah, we are level 78. The build is very unoptimized. Keep that in mind. And I am so sorry about that, but I just can't do it anymore. I just don't have the time to do it anymore. So, a couple tricky things that you can notice from the get-go. We are using a double Dorianis. However, before you freak out, Dorianis are actually quite cheap right now. I did test +3 on both of my Heralds, but in my opinion it wasn't good enough. Scaling the Ball Lightning a little bit further is quite important. You can still use it in a 4-link, but in my opinion, scaling it a little bit further so that it softens up the mob a little bit more for the Heralds is very, very good. So we are using a Dorianis, but don't freak out. They're not actually that expensive since the recent changes to Proliv. Not as many people play Ignite builds, not as many people play Proliv builds, and also they added another mod into the game, which is flat elemental damage to rare weapons, which you obviously can't get on a Dorianis, which also lowers the cost of this because it is incredibly powerful. So just keep that in mind. The prices keeps going down. I got each one of these for 1.5 exalt from a friend. You can get them on a hardcore league right now for about 2 exalts. But yeah, I will be running a 71 map. Again, I am level 78, so my gems are just level 18. So that should give you about a good idea of the scaling if you were to use a regular rare weapon. Yeah, we just use the Dorianis because I want to show you how well the Heralds can do in this type of situation, but if you just focus on your Ball Lightning, you should still be doing completely fine and all that, yada yada yada. I also like the Leech a lot. Obviously, that's very, very helpful since we do use Ghost Reaver in the build. Okay, so since we got that out of the way, let's talk about the build a little bit. So, nothing changed here. We're still Shadow. We're still scaling elemental damage because spell damage does not scale our Heralds. You know, you get a lot of life. I did opt to go with the coordination as I didn't plan before, but we do use the Ball Lightning pretty much on every single pack to soften up the mobs, so it is very important. I tried to make it autoplay, but yeah, I'll talk about that in a little bit. As you can see, we get some jewels. We get Life NES, Life NES. We do travel to Fingers of Frost because, yeah, of the freeze chance and also freeze duration. Ghost Reaver for the ES because it is a hybrid build. Hardened Soul is useful because mana can be a little bit tricky if you don't pick up these thoughts, like I don't in my build. As you can see, in general, I can show you how really unoptimized this is. You know, we get this, but yeah, you get this, you get a lot of AoE, you get the jewel, try and put a jewel in your actual jewel sockets if you've got them. Crew preparation, Lightning Walker, Elemental Dominion, travel over to Templar, get Retribution, get Amplify, get Elementalist, Devotion, travel all the way to Celestial Judgment and Celestial Punishment. It is worth it. I highly recommend it. You can even pick up Light of Divinity if you really feel like it. It is just cast speed and spell damage, which doesn't scale the Heralds, but if you feel like maybe you need it for your Ball Lightning or yeah, Ball Lightning, then feel free. I prefer to get Ash, Frost, and Storm so that it scales our Heralds, and then you just get life nodes. You can see over here that this is the general idea of how the build should look like. It is 122 points, which is level 100. If you're lower level, try and drop some ES nodes, try and drop less optimal damage nodes like Ash, Frost, and Storm. Yes, definitely that. You know, drop a little bit of light, a little bit of ES. It's completely up to you. Depends on what kind of gear you're rocking. So if you feel like you need a little bit more defense, obviously drop the damage nodes and vice versa. We do freeze everything, so damage is defense, but yeah, you get the idea. We do get 100. We get 202% maximum life, which is a boatload for a build like this, because again we freeze everything, and we get 144 maximum energy shield, which should pretty much make for like 6k plus life and like 5k plus energy shield with mediocre gear, which is pretty good in my opinion. But that's pretty much it when it comes to the skill tree. You can maybe drop the duration nodes also. I never ended up testing them, but I don't feel like they're that powerful. For the Volstrom Coals, it really doesn't matter that much, and for the Herald of Thunder, you pretty much got it rocking 100% of the time anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But okay, here comes the tricky part, because I'm going to talk about my gems. So here comes the tricky part. Essentially, for right now, we don't have a 4-link that we're not using a 4-link. We have an empty 4-link over here because we can move this stuff over here. And for right now, we're using Spell Echo, Hypothermia, and double for Storm Call. If you feel like your single target is lacking, put your Volstrom Call in a separate 4-link or a 5-link, although I don't recommend a 5-link because you will kill yourself to reflect eventually, in my opinion. You might be fine solo, but for group play, you will probably kill yourself at some point if you crit or whatever, because it is pretty insane damage for single target. So yeah, you can essentially get an AoE Volstrom Call and you can get a single target Volstrom Call. So for your AoE Volstrom Call, I would highly recommend you use something like Volstrom Call, Hypothermia, Spell Echo, and then maybe your last slot could be something like Prolift for additional freeze if you want to feel like you're safer, or you know, support your group even further. Or you can use maybe increased AoE for higher radius. You can maybe use added lightning for more damage, so that you shock a little bit better on, yeah. And then for single target, it's pretty much the same thing, except in my opinion you should drop the Hypothermia, and so yeah, use Volstrom Call, Spell Echo, probably increase duration, and then added lightning maybe to shock the mobs. Yeah, added lightning is good in my opinion, so increased duration, added lightning should work out pretty great. Because again, you're focusing on single target on your separate setup. I don't recommend Lightning Pen because of Call of the Brotherhood, but I will talk about some things in just a little bit. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about it now. Okay, so we do use Call of the Brotherhood, but it is a little bit tricky because you will notice while leveling up that you most likely won't be freezing enough. And it's not because of freeze chance, it's because of freeze duration. So you might want to use something like a 3 Dragons, right? Because it doesn't make your damage 50-50. It just converts the status ailment, so you still deal 100% of the damage, which now, instead of being lightning, would be converted into freeze. But again, the damage is not converted, it's just the status ailment is converted. So you would have double the freeze duration, essentially, with a 3 Dragons. However, in the end game, in my opinion, you should be freezing enough to justify using a Call of the Brotherhood, and the 3 Dragons is actually a really crappy item for endgame, especially for a hybrid build, because for a hybrid build you can get a helmet that has like 400 energy shield and, you know, 100 plus life, which is a boatload of defense. So yeah, you can see that my gear is really crappy, but that's the endgame idea. But for leveling, 3 Dragons is more than fine enough. Like, you don't really care about the conversion for any other status ailment, you just care about the freeze, right? Okay, so I explained the Dorianis. I'll maybe show the gems. I'm sorry this video is so panicked, but like, recording it a 3rd time, I'm just focusing on trying to, you know, explain everything, so yeah. Actually, let's do jewels first before I forget. Also, bandits, you help Oak and then kill. You can maybe get the endurance charge on Merciless, but that's up to you. For jewels, I highly recommend you get freeze duration and chance to freeze alongside increased damage. Increased damage affects everything, and freeze duration is incredibly useful for making the party a lot safer. And yeah, your 3rd affix should probably be added lightning. I didn't really test it, but probably added lightning is the best, and then maybe you want to get something defensive like life or energy shield, or maybe if you want more deeps, go for the cast speed. It should provide you with a little bit more clear speed because your ball lightning is going to be softening up mobs a little bit faster. But yeah, now it's time for the links. So you can see I use Elemental Elemental weakness, add a cold, flame totem. This really doesn't matter. I use the flame totem as additional tanking and single target damage every now and then, but it's primarily only on map bosses. Add a cold just because I'm leveling, but you can maybe 3-link your flame totem to actually have some proper damage on this. You can slap the elemental damage over here, so yeah, just keep that in mind and instead use the faster casting. I explained the Volstrom calls and what you should do with this. On our chest piece we use Ball Lightning, Spell Echo, Hypothermia, increased AoE, faster casting. If you want to have a 5-link Volstrom call for the single target damage, and instead you want to have a 4-link Ball Lightning, which should be good enough. If you have enough chance to freeze, if you're like level 50 plus, you should have enough chance to freeze, so using increased area of effect actually doesn't benefit you that much, because we primarily use it for like additional ticks, and every now and then it's going to be a little bit more damage, but in general you have so much AoE already that it's very situational that this actually gives you more damage. So if you're really crazy and you want to do more damage, maybe you want to use sword projectiles instead, but I really like the look of it, so yeah, since the build is unoptimized, this is what I went for. But if you feel like you're not freezing enough because of the chance, maybe you want to drop faster casting. That's completely up to you. It's personal preference in my opinion. Our main setup is Herald of Thunder, Herald of Ice, increased area of effect, and hypothermia. Yeah, the increased area of effect is optional. I use it for right now, just primarily for testing. But in general, I don't think it's that useful. Instead, you might want to go with just a regular 3-link. And then, since you can see that you have more mana left over, thanks to something like that, you can maybe pick up Influence. Or not even Influence, but just the reduced mana, and then that way you should be able to run a Discipline for additional defenses. But again, up to you. For right now, I'm using an increased area of effect. And then the loose Flame Totem, Flame Golem, and Flame Dash. So Flame Golem for increased damage, we don't really care about anything else, and the Flame Dash for mobility, which again, you could move through your chest piece and have this free for Volstorm Call. Let's go over the gear. Toriani's I explained, really crappy helmet, really crappy ring, really crappy amulet, really crappy ring. I am using a Carcass Jack, but don't freak out. It's completely unnecessary. It's literally unnecessary. I'm just using it because I ended up testing the Carcass Jack, and it's like one of my only 5 links. But in general, you should be using a high energy shield and high life chest piece. The AoE is totally not worth it, and the amount of defense that you can get out of a rare piece is just so much freaking better. So definitely don't get a Carcass Jack like I did. Get a regular rare chest piece. Call of the Brotherhood, and then really random gloves. Wow, this is such garbage gear. Really random belt and pretty good boots. Boots are actually pretty good, but you want energy shield obviously on your boots, on your gloves, on your helmet, and on your chest piece. It is very, very, very important. Since we don't use a shield, we instead use dual weapons. It's very important. Also, if you've got a little bit more money, I highly recommend for one of your jewels, maybe the one that's empty, you should be using a Chill of Corruption. It really helps out with your Volstorm calls. It basically doubles the amount of souls that you get, so it should make your single target a lot better. But there are like 2 exalts right now, so I didn't manage to get one because I am very, very poor, because I've got like 20 different characters right now just for testing. And yeah, you know what, since we don't use this, boom, 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 for a little bit more nice damage. And I think that's pretty much it. Wow, 14 minutes. God damn, every video I make it's even longer. But it took me so long to make this. For your flasks, as I said before, mana is a little bit tricky. We do use a mana potion right now, but you should be probably picking up Deep Thoughts and getting a little bit of mana regeneration on your build, because we don't need a lot of mana. We only cast Ball Lightning every now and then. So with enough regeneration, you should be fine. But for right now, I am forced into using a mana potion just because I am so very much under-geared. But the rest of the flask, you should be using an instant staunching. You should be using an instant grounding, which is remove shock. Again, this can be replaced later on with something like probably a Taste of Hate, which is incredibly good, or maybe a Rumi's Concoction. That's, in my opinion, probably even better, although a little bit more situational. And less synergy with the granite that we also use with iron skin, except try and get a better roll. And then the Quicksilver, in my opinion, should be a warding. I prefer the warding. It's kind of up to you. I just like having my warding here and my stunching here. Some people like it reverse. Whatever you prefer. And I think that's about it. Yeah. My gems are under-leveled. This is going to be a 71 map, ashore. I am level 78, so yeah. You shouldn't be running 71s and 78. You should be running lower maps because it's just more efficient, but just because I've got all the gear, essentially, when it comes to my damage, I do want to run a higher map so you guys have an idea of what it is. When it comes to the real end game, I really don't know what to tell you guys. Like, it might be different, it might be the same thing, the scaling might go well. I think it scales pretty well by itself, but yeah, you're gonna have to test for yourself or wait for another diary. You can see the map is a little bit cleared because, like I said, I got disconnected halfway through on the last playthrough. So yeah, you'd have an idea. Basically, cast one Bull Lightning and stuff blows up. If it's like blue mobs, you have to freeze one mob and then the rest dies anyway. And we rely on the Herald of Thunder to soften up the mobs and the Bull Lightning to soften up the mobs. And then once one of them dies, pretty much everything else is dead also, because yeah, the Herald of Ice cascades and it's just really sick. So yeah, that for mobility, you can see that was a rare mob. You can see how much damage the Herald of Thunder is doing. You know, every now and then it's gonna run out if we don't attack by ourselves, but this should give you a general idea. And then use the Volstrom Coal to freeze everything and just blow it the hell up. You can even see that basically our Volstrom Coal is being a 3-link right now. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Oh, and also, if you don't see me moving every now and then, it's because my mouse is broken. I'm currently waiting for a new one. And yeah, you can see, you know, the Volstrom Coal, the Herald of Thunder clears up by itself. You can focus on like other mobs, and then if you need single target, just drop the Volstrom Coal and it should be doing enough. So altogether, a really fun build to play. Worked out a lot better than I thought it will, especially for group play, since I've been doing some group play and I thought it's going to be really bad for it because we're just not going to have enough damage, but it worked out pretty well. You know, we made it very, very safe for the group. We also shocked everything, so that's a big damage increase because not a lot of builds shock right now. It feels like nobody's playing shocking builds. And yeah, let's see, no hands essentially. Sometimes it really works out great where it just blows up mobs. Obviously these mobs don't have a lot of life. They're smaller mobs, right? So they don't have a lot of life and it's a lot easier to shatter them. But even with higher life mobs, it works out pretty alright. Maybe let's show the boss, because like I said, the single target is a little bit tricky, and especially since I don't really have a proper single target right now, which should be our Volstrom Coal later on. Blue pack. I actually don't see the boss anywhere, but you can see every now and then I'll run out of mana. Alright, so here's the boss. And it's best to like try and drag him into the blue mobs, but you can see one Volstrom Coal and he's like almost dead. And then the Herald of Thunder does a lot. So you can drop a second one, just use Bull Lightning to attack, and even the boss dies fairly fast, even without a proper single target. But yeah, hopefully this gave you a general idea of the build. I'm sorry this is such a weird video, but recording it 3 times and then being so embarrassed about not actually finishing up the build. Yeah, I'm just sorry. Hopefully I'll be able to finish it. But I still highly recommend it. It's incredibly fun to play. Herald of Thunder, like killing mobs every now and then, is so satisfying. You know, everything shattering. If you've never played Volstrom Coal, it is so much fun. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you guys in the next one. Hope I get to make the next one. And that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys around. Goodbye.